Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to cut through the noise, filtering that massive stream of information down to what you really need to know.
Yeah, the goal is always actionable insights, right? We do the legwork, reading all those white papers and tech blogs so you don't have to.
Exactly. And today, we are diving into something huge, genuinely, a massive shift happening right now.
We are definitely strapping in. Today's deep dive is all about the AI revolution in game creation, specifically the tools that are available, like right now.
Our mission today is pretty clear. We want to investigate how AI is, on one hand, smashing the barrier to entry for maybe smaller creators, solo devs, and on the other hand, how it's simultaneously giving, superpowers to the big AAA studios, boosting their efficiency.
It's hitting both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So we've gathered quite a range of sources for this. We're looking at it from three main angles, three pillars, you could say.
Okay, what have we got?
First, there are these dedicated platforms for really quick, accessible game creation. Rosebud is a key example there.
Right, the instant game, folks.
Then second, you've got these more advanced tools focused on game ideas and market analysis, sort of like a strategic AI advisor. Ludo.ai is the one we'll unpack there.
Ideation and validation. Makes sense.
And finally, the third pillar is the really deep integration. Generative AI built right into a major game engine. We'll be looking closely at Unity AI, especially the recent updates in Unity 6.2.
So it really covers the whole life cycle, from that first spark of an idea all the way to optimizing tiny details in the engine itself.
Exactly. And the big question, the thing we want you, the listener, to keep thinking about as we go through this is, well, it's fundamental, isn't it?
Which is?
How is AI changing what a game creator actually does? Is it shifting the focus away from the tedious stuff, the repetitive coding, churning out basic assets,
And moving it towards
pure creativity, high-level concepts, designing the player experience, the storytelling? So less about building blocks and more about the big picture.
that idea of shifting from builder to maybe curator or director. That's fascinating. Okay, let's get into it. Where better to start than with democratizing creation, making it accessible?
Yeah, let's start there. Part one, AI for everyone.
Yeah.
Historically, making a game, it was tough. You needed so many different skills.
Oh, yeah. Coding, 3D modeling, animation, sound design, system architecture. Usually needed a big team, lots of time, lots of money.
Exactly. But now we're seeing these platforms pop up that are like, well, you called it the learner's shortcut. They let people make games really fast, often with little or no technical background.
Just lowering that barrier way, way down.
Dramatically. And you mentioned Rosebud AI Game Creator earlier. They seem to be kind of the poster child for this accessibility push.
Their pitch is bold, isn't it? Turn ideas into games instantly, for free, in your browser.
It's a huge claim, and that key promise, no downloads, no coding required. That's a game changer.
It really is. It takes game development out of this specialized software silo and puts it alongside, writing a story or sketching an idea. Just another way to express yourself creatively.
What's interesting is how they focus. Rosebud isn't really trying to help you build, say, a super complex 3D shooter right in the browser. That'd be ambitious.
Probably wise. So what do they focus on?
They seem to put their AI muscle into specific genres, ones where maybe narrative and asset creation are the usual big hurdles. They talk a lot about visual novels reimagined.
Okay, visual novels. Makes sense. Lots of art, lots of text, branching dialogue. AI could help a lot there.
Precisely. The idea is you can create these really rich, interactive stories. The AI helps generate the narrative elements, the dialogue, and importantly, the visuals to match.
So walk me through it. Let's say I'm a writer, not an artist or coder. I have an idea. A detective story set in a neon noir city. You have to interrogate quirky robots.
What happens when I feed that to Rosebud? Well, the AI would take that prompt, understand the key elements, detective, neon noir, robots, and start generating things. It would suggest scene backgrounds in that neon noir style, maybe offer different art styles like pixel art or something more painterly.
Okay.
Then it would generate character sprites for your robot characters, maybe even different poses or expressions for the dialogue. It helps structure the dialogue trees based on your story beats.
So it's scaffolding the whole thing. I focus on the writing, the plot, the character personalities.
And not on drawing 50 variations of a gloomy, rain-slipped alleyway
Yeah.
or figuring out how to code a dialogue system.
That's powerful for narrative, folks. What about other genres? You mentioned RPGs.
Yeah, they talk about dynamic RPG design. The promise there is using AI for things like adaptive difficulty, making the game harder or easier based on how you're playing,
Okay.
and also dynamic world building. Now, how deep that goes in a browser tool? Probably focus on generating modular pieces, like AI helps create dungeon sections or town layouts based on rules you set.
Less about building a whole seamless world, more about generating components.
Seems likely. And a big piece of that RPG puzzle is smarter NPCs. They're aiming for AI characters that react more intelligently to what the player does, making the world feel more alive than just, NPCs repeating the same 3 lines.
Right, moving beyond those simple loops. And the key to making this work smoothly must be the asset tools, right? If you still have to manually prep every image, it slows right down.
Absolutely. They emphasize their integrated asset creation tooling. It handles stuff that's usually a pain.
Like what?
Things like automatically removing backgrounds from character sprites, rescaling images properly for different screens, generating variations on an asset. Maybe you need the same robot but slightly damaged, that kind of thing.
Okay, useful housekeeping stuff.
And animation, too. They talk about streamlining sprite animation, so instead of needing separate animation software and keyframing skills.
Which is a whole discipline in itself.
Totally. The idea is you can maybe describe the animation character taps foot impatiently, and the AI generates the necessary sprite sheet for that movement. Makes characters feel more responsive without needing an animator on hand.
And character customization. Goes beyond just picking hair color, I assume?
Yeah, they mentioned AI generating appearances, but also personality traits and even behaviors based on prompts. So you could maybe define a character archetype and the AI fleshes out their look, their backstory, how they might react in certain situations. More dynamic generation.
Okay, so Rosebud is really nailing that accessible, browser-based, narrative-heavy creation, almost like an AI-powered game creation kit.
That's a good way to put it. Now, if Rosebud is the entry point, the tool for maybe hobbyists or writers, then Ludo.ai is positioned a bit differently, more towards the professional or semi-pro end, especially early in the process.
Right, you said Ludo is more about ideation and validation, less about the final execution.
Yes, exactly. Think of Ludo as this unified ecosystem. It's focused on helping you generate game concepts, figure out that they're actually good ideas with market potential, and then quickly prototype them. It's where data meets creativity early on.
Okay, so it's more strategic. How does it help with generating ideas? You mentioned an ideation engine.
Yeah, they have a tool called the Game Ideator. You can feed it keywords, themes, maybe even the title of a game you like, and it spits out fresh game concepts. Seconds, they claim.
So if I'm stuck, I could put in, say, cozy farming sim, but with alchemy, and see what it comes up with.
Precisely. You generate multiple concept documents outlining potential mechanics, target audience, maybe even monetization hooks based on that input.
Interesting. What if I'm really stuck, like don't even have the keywords?
They have something called the Idea Pathfinder. It sounds like it structures the brainstorming process more. It guides you through key design choices, genre, platform, core loop, and injects market insights along the way, trying to steer you towards viable paths.
Okay, so it helps generate ideas, but the really interesting part, I think, is the validation. How do you know if any of these AI-generated ideas are actually worth pursuing?
That's where Ludo gets really strategic, especially for studios who can't afford to gamble on a hunch. Market analysis and validation is key.
This is about avoiding building something nobody wants to play.
Exactly. They offer something called the Ludo score. It's a data-backed assessment of your game concept.
Data-backed how? What goes into this score?
It looks at several factors. Potential for chart dominance based on similar successful games, how well it aligns with current market trends, its potential impact as a new entry, newcomer impact, and critically, its creative edge, how novel it actually is.
Okay, so it's trying to balance market appeal with originality. Gives you a kind of confidence rating before you commit serious resources.
That's the idea. Take some of the guesswork out of that crucial early greenlight decision.
But hold on, isn't there a risk here? If everyone starts chasing the perfect Ludo score, optimizing for trends and chart dominance, don't we just end up with a market full of slightly different clones? Where does genuine innovation fit in if it's all data-driven?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a definite risk. Ludo seems aware of this, and they have tools that try to encourage, let's call it calculated innovation rather than just chasing trends.
Okay, like what?
One really interesting tool is the Top Charts Blender. It's a unique concept. It essentially tries to deconstruct the DNA of games that are currently topping the charts.
Deconstruct their DNA. What does that mean in practice?
It analyzes their core mechanics, how they make money, what keeps players coming back, those retention loops. Then it lets you fuse elements from different successful games.
Ah, so you could take the addictive progression system from Game X and combine it with the unique art style or theme of Game Y.
Exactly. The goal is to generate concepts that are innovative in their combination, but use mechanics or loops that are already proven to resonate with the market. It's like guided hybridization, trying to get the best of both worlds, novelty and market fit.
That's clever. It's not just copying, it's remixing success factors. That feels more strategically sound in a crowded market.
Yeah, and they also have a market trends tool to help you spot those emerging niches, the areas that are growing but maybe aren't saturated yet, finding the blue oceans, so to speak.
Okay, so Ludo helps you nail the concept and check its viability. But it doesn't stop there, right? It helps bridge the gap to actually making something.
Right. It moves from concept to prototype. This is where their engineering side comes in. They have a playable generator.
Playable generator, does it actually build a game?
It aims to turn the validated idea into a quick, interactive prototype. They use this interesting term, vibe coding.
Vibe coding? What on earth is vibe coding?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it sounds a bit abstract. The idea seems to be translating the feel or the core vibe of your concept into a playable loop very quickly. So you get an interactive sense of whether the core gameplay feels right intuitively without deep coding yet.
Okay, I get the appeal, quickly testing the fun factor, but vibe, how do you ensure that prototype isn't just, smoke and mirrors, something that feels fun for 5 minutes but has no solid foundation?
That's the inherent challenge with rapid prototyping tools, AI or not. Ludo seems to mitigate this by having done so much validation work before the prototype stage. And critically, for developers ready to move to a full engine like Unity.
Yes.
Ludo helps accelerate that jump. It has a code generation feature. It can actually generate CISIC character controllers tailored for Unity based on your concept document.
Seriously, what kind of scripts?
Things for common game mechanics, basic character controllers, UI elements, the kind of boilerplate stuff you often have to write from scratch. It aims to give you a starting point, already validated conceptually.
Wow, okay. That could save a lot of setup time.
And they don't just dump code on you. They also offer personalized tutorials. Custom interactive guides based on your specific game concept designed to walk you through the next steps in engines like Unity or Unreal.
So it's trying to be a complete journey from idea spark to engine-ready starting point.
That seems to be the goal. So we've seen Rosebud for ultra-accessible, no-code creation, and Ludo for that strategic ideation, validation, and code-assisted prototyping.
Right. Now let's get into the belly of the beast. AI integrated directly into the professional's primary tool, the game engine itself, Unity AI.
Exactly. Part 2, the professional's co-pilot.
Okay, so Unity AI. This feels like a different level of integration compared to the standalone platforms. This is AI living right inside the Unity editor, where professional developers spend their days.
Absolutely. This isn't about generating a whole game from a prompt. This is about AI acting as a true co-pilot for the developer, handling specific, often complex or tedious tasks within the existing professional workflow.
And this represents a shift for Unity too, right? They had earlier AI tools.
They did. Unity AI, which is really a suite, including the Unity Assistant and various AI generators, effectively replaces their previous efforts like Muse and Centis. The key difference seems to be tighter integration and, importantly, more flexibility.
Flexibility how?
They're opening it up to use various third-party AI models directly within the editor, so you're not locked into just one AI. You can access models from OpenAI like GPT, Meta's Llama models, Stable Diffusion for image generation, even kinetics for motion generation from video.
Giving developers choice depending on the task, that's smart. But before we get into the cool features, let's address the elephant in the room for any professional studio: data privacy and IP. How does Unity handle that with AI looking at potentially sensitive project data?
Crucial question.
Okay.
And Unity seems very aware of this. They've been quite explicit. By default, Unity AI does not use your project data, your code, your assets, your scene files to train their general public AI models.
Okay, that's vital. How does it work technically? Is everything processed locally?
It's a hybrid approach. The part based on their older Centis tech, now called the inference engine, which handles running AI models within your game, runs locally on your machine. Your specific game logic AI stays local.
God.
However, the Unity Assistant and the AI generators, the tools that do the heavy lifting for analysis, text prompting, image generation, those run in the Unity cloud.
So the complex AI processing happens in the cloud, but my core project IP, the stuff that makes my game unique, stays on my machine by default.
That seems to be the balance they've struck. Offload the heavy computation, but maintain user control over core project data for training purposes. Transparency here is key for studio adoption.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk about the assistant itself. This sounds like where the immediate workflow magic happens. Debugging, optimization.
It really acts like an expert troubleshooter sitting next to you. Take the classic nightmare,
Oh.
a cryptic error message flooding the console.
Ugh, yes. Hours spent Googling obscure error codes.
Exactly. Now, you can apparently just use an attach menu to link that console error directly to the assistant. The AI inspects the relevant code, explains why the error is happening in plain English, suggests a fix, and can even overwrite the faulty script with the corrected version.
That alone is huge. What about just messy code? Code that works but is hard to understand.
Yeah, code quality is another focus.
Mm.
The sources showed an example where the assistant looked at a script with basically no comments. You could ask it to analyze that script.
And it would.
It would go through line by line, explain what each part does, and insert helpful comments and documentation automatically. Makes code much easier to maintain, especially for teams.
Okay, code help is great. But you mentioned it works on the 3D scene too. Auditing and optimization. That sounds incredibly powerful.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Finding performance problems or weird visual glitches in a complex 3D scene can be incredibly time-consuming. Manual profiling, guesswork.
Give us an example. What kind of tricky scene issue could the assistant find quickly?
Okay, here's a concrete one from the materials we looked at. Imagine a lush, complex outdoor scene. Performance is lagging. You ask the assistant to scan for outlier objects or performance issues.
Right.
Instantly flags that tropical plant number 4 has a rigid body component attached to it.
A rigid body on a plant. Why is that bad?
Because a rigid body tells the physics engine this object can move, collide, react to forces. A decorative plant shouldn't need that. It forces the physics system to do constant, useless calculations for that plant, frame after frame.
Ah, wasted processing power.
Exactly. Finding that one misplaced component on one specific asset in potentially thousands manually, that could take ages of methodical checking or profiling. The assistant spots it immediately. That's a massive time saver, a real aha moment for efficiency.
Yeah, that's incredibly valuable. What about visual problems? The dreaded pink object.
The bane of many Unity devs. When something turns bright pink, it usually means a shader or material isn't working with the current rendering pipeline. The assistant can diagnose this too. It can identify that the object is using, say, an old shader, incompatible with the high-definition render pipeline, HDRP you're using, and then suggest a compatible shader or material fix. One click, potentially. Saves you from digging through rendering documentation.
Okay, performance bottlenecks too, like finding objects that are just too complex.
Yep. If your frame rate tanks in a certain area, you can ask the assistant to find objects with unusually high polygon counts or complexity. The example given was finding some decorative conch shells.
These shells.
Yeah, but apparently they were modeled with insane detail, something like 8 million triangles each. Way overkill for a small decorative prop. The assistant flags them. You can then decide to delete them, replace them with simpler versions, or optimize them. Again, finding those specific culprits quickly is the key.
This is moving beyond just code help into full scene intelligence. What about setting things up? Can it automate complex placements?
That's another area where it really shines, apparently. Tasks that involve placing many objects precisely across a large environment. Think about setting up 3D audio emitters for realistic soundscapes.
Oh man, placing hundreds of sound sources manually across a bumpy terrain. That sounds tedious.
Extremely. But with the assistant, you could say select your terrain object and your water object. Then you tell the assistant something like, sample the terrain height and place wave sound emitters every 20 meters around the sea level contour.
And it just does it.
Based on the demos, yes. It analyzes the geometry, calculates the positions, and places potentially hundreds or thousands of emitter objects correctly in seconds, a task that could take a human hours or days.
Wow. And managing those placed objects, like if you need to change them all later.
It handles bulk operations, too. Let's say you want all those wave emitters to use a new, improved sound effect. You create a prefab, a reusable asset template with the new audio source attached.
Okay.
Then you tell the assistant, find all objects named Wave Emitter Basic and replace them with this new Wave Emitter Advanced prefab. It does the swap across the whole scene.
And renaming, keeping the scene hierarchy clean.
Yes, it can even handle intelligent renaming during replacement, like appending the quadrant The object is in relative to its parent object, so your hierarchy stays organized automatically. Little things that add up for big projects.
What about spawning things like enemies or items?
Same principle.
Yeah.
You can define points of interest or areas, select your pirate prefab, for instance, and tell the assistant, spawn pirate prefabs at these specific spawn points, ensuring no duplicates. It handles the placement, and you can verify it right in the assistant window.
It even helps with writing, like dialogue.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. You could give it a basic dialogue script and ask it to flesh it out, add more flavor text, maybe some cultural references relevant to the setting, or even generate variations for different character moves. Creates a richer dialogue asset quickly.
Honestly, thinking back to manually placing assets, debugging shaders by trial and error, this level of automation feels almost like, well, like having a very experienced assistant.
It really shifts the developer's role. Less tedious execution, more direction, quality control, and creative oversight, letting the AI handle the grunt work.
Okay, that's the assistant. What about the generators? This is where the AI actually creates assets, right?
Exactly. This is generative AI for textures, images, animation, even audio, integrated directly into the workflow.
So textures first, how does that work?
Let's say you're working on terrain. You can select a terrain layer, open the material generator, and just type a prompt like dark green, mossy grass with small rocks.
And it makes a texture.
It does, but crucially, it also generates the associated maps needed for modern rendering. You mentioned the BBR tab that likely stands for base color, normal map, and maybe roughness metallic maps.
Right, the maps that make it look physically real, not just flat. Explain the normal map again quickly.
Sure. The base color map is just the color, the image. The normal map is a special texture that tells the engine how light should bounce off the surface, as if it had lots of fine detail, like bumps on the moss or cracks in the rocks. It fakes intricate geometry without needing millions of actual polygons, making things look detailed but run fast. The AI generates this complex normal map from your simple text prompt.
Got it. And image generation for things like UI or flags.
Yes, tied directly to the inspector panel.
Yeah.
So you could select a placeholder texture for, say, a pirate flag on a ship model, click Generate, maybe choose an AI model known for a specific style, like anime,
Right.
and prompt something like Black Jolly Roger flag with a cute smiling skull anime style. Because it's integrated, the generated image appears on the flag in your game view almost instantly. You can iterate on visuals incredibly fast.
That immediate feedback loop is powerful. What about animation? You mentioned kinetics.
Yeah, this democratizes motion capture to some extent. Unity has a video to motion tab, likely using kinetics tech.
Oh.
A developer could literally film themselves on their smartphone doing specific action, a weird dance, a complex stretch, a combat move.
Okay.
Upload that video, and the AI analyzes the motion and generates a corresponding character animation clip that can be applied to their 3D model in Unity.
Whoa. So no need for expensive mocap suits or studios for many common animations.
For certain types of animation, it seems like a massive shortcut, reduces that barrier significantly.
And audio generation, too.
Yes. Similar to textures, you can prompt for sound effects. Calm ocean waves lapping on a sandy beach, distant seagulls. The AI generates an audio clip.
Can you edit it?
There's a basic audio edit tool right there in the inspector for simple trimming or adjusting the volume envelope. It's about getting usable assets now, right within the engine, keeping the creative flow going without constantly switching tools or waiting for assets. So the combination of the assistant handling tasks and the generators creating assets, it really paints a picture of a much faster, more fluid development process.
Definitely. Okay, we've seen the accessible tools, the strategic tools, and the deeply integrated engine tools. Let's zoom out a bit and talk about the underlying concepts that make a lot of this possible, especially for creating large-scale worlds.
Right. Time to talk about procedural content generation and how AI takes it to the next level. Part 3, the engine's core. So all these amazing tools build on some core ideas. And when you talk about creating massive game worlds, especially efficiently, you have to talk about procedural content generation, or PCG.
PCG. It's been around for a while, but it feels more relevant than ever, right? At its heart, it's about using algorithms, rules, randomness to create game content automatically, instead of handcrafting everything.
Exactly. Levels, items, quests, characters, whole environments. It saves enormous amounts of time and resources. Think back to early rogue-like games.
Right. Games like Rogue or Nethak, randomly generated dungeons every time you played. That was PCG in its early days, giving massive replayability.
Precisely. But modern PCG operates on a completely different scale thanks to computing power and more sophisticated algorithms. The classic example everyone points to is
No Man's Sky. Has to be.
Has to be. Using PCG to generate, 18 quintillion unique planets, each with its own terrain, weather, flora, fauna. It's a scale that's literally unimaginable to create by hand. No art team is big enough.
It's mind-boggling, but traditional PCG can sometimes feel, well, random, maybe a bit repetitive or nonsensical if the rules aren't perfect. How does AI change the game for PCG?
That's the key evolution. AI-enhanced PCG isn't just about random generation based on rules. It integrates machine learning. The AI can analyze patterns, learn from existing designs, even look at player data.
So the generated content becomes smarter, less random, more purposeful.
Exactly. It moves from purely random to adaptive and personalized. Instead of just a random sequence of rooms, an AI might generate a dungeon layout that it predicts will be more engaging for your specific playstyle based on how you've tackled previous challenges.
Okay, that's a subtle but powerful shift. What about narrative? Can AI PCG help create better stories?
Potentially, yes. Imagine an AI analyzing the choices you make, the characters you interact with most, the kind of quests you prefer. It could then dynamically generate new story arcs or side quests that align with your demonstrated preferences, making the narrative feel more personal and resonant.
That sounds like the holy grail for open-world RPGs,
Yeah.
and this idea of real-time adaptation based on player experience. They're classic examples of that, right?
Absolutely. Think about Left 4 Dead in this sequel. They famously used the AI director.
Right, the director. It wasn't just throwing zombies at you randomly.
Not at all. The AI director was constantly monitoring the players. How well were they doing? Were they low on health or ammo? Did they seem stressed or bored? Based on that analysis, it would dynamically adjust the pacing.
How so?
If the team was cruising through easily, it might spawn a sudden horde or a powerful special infected, maybe hide health packs further away to ramp up the tension. If the team was getting overwhelmed, it might ease off, give them a breather, provide some needed supplies.
So it was constantly tuning the experience in real time to keep it exciting but generally fair. That's AI-driven adaptation in action.
Precisely. Now, moving beyond just generating content, AI is also transforming ongoing game operations, what the industry calls live ops.
Live ops, super important for any game that wants to keep players engaged long-term, especially multiplayer games. This is about updates, events, balancing.
And AI is becoming indispensable here. We already touched on adaptive difficulty, making enemies smarter based on player skill. NPCs are also getting boosts, moving beyond static dialogue trees to more dynamic conversations that react to the game state or player history.
Makes the world feel more alive. But for the business side of live ops, where's AI making the biggest impact? You mentioned predictive analytics.
Yeah, this is huge for managing live service games. In the past, planning future events or content drops involved a lot of looking at past data and, well, educated guessing.
Right. What might players want next month?
AI takes the guesswork out. Machine learning models can analyze vast amounts of player behavior data to predict future actions. What items are players likely to buy? Which players are at risk of quitting, churning? What kind of event would generate the most engagement right now?
So studios can tailor their content strategy with much higher confidence.
Exactly. Plan events, target rewards, design sales, all based on predictive insights, not just historical trends. It maximizes engagement and, frankly, revenue potential.
And in multiplayer, fairness is key. How does AI help with matchmaking and cheating?
Two critical areas. For matchmaking, AI can go beyond simple skill ratings. It can analyze playstyles, communication patterns, recent performance to create more balanced and enjoyable teams' dynamic matchmaking.
Okay, better matches. What about cheaters?
This is a constant arms race, but AI offers a powerful weapon. Instead of just relying on detecting known cheat programs, machine learning models can be trained to identify patterns of behavior that are statistically indicative of cheating.
How does that work?
If a player suddenly starts landing impossible shots with unnatural accuracy or moving in ways that defy the game's physics, even without a known cheat program running, the AI can flag that anomalous behavior by comparing it against millions of legitimate play sessions. It makes cheat detection much more robust.
So AI is becoming deeply embedded in both creation and operation. Is the industry actually adopting this stuff widely? Or is it still niche?
The adoption seems incredibly rapid, much faster than many expected. The Unity Gaming Report had some striking numbers.
Like what?
Developer optimism is sky high. Something like 96% of developers surveyed said they are already using or experimenting with AI tools in their workflows.
96%. That's basically universal at this point.
It really suggests this shift is well underway. And why are they adopting it? 45% specifically said they're looking for tools to streamline workflows.
Which maps directly back to what we saw with Unity Assistant, automating the tedious stuff, fixing errors, optimizing scenes. It's about efficiency.
Exactly. And the market focus reinforces the need for these tools. 64% are working on multiplayer games, and 62% are prioritizing investment in their existing games. That's live ops again. AI helps manage that complexity and keep players engaged long-term.
And platform-wise, still mobile first.
Overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
90% launched their most recent game on mobile platforms, which, again, highlights the need for AI and optimization. Making sure games run smoothly across a huge range of devices is a massive challenge that AI can help automate.
So the trend is clear. AI is here. Developers are embracing it, focusing on efficiency, multiplayer, live ops, and mobile. But it can't all be smooth sailing, right? There must be challenges.
Oh, absolutely. With great power comes, well, new problems to solve. Let's get into those. Part 4, challenges and the future outlook.
Okay, so we've seen the incredible potential. AI speeding up workflows, enabling new scales of creation, making games smarter. But what are the roadblocks? What are the challenges developers are actually facing when trying to integrate these tools?
There are definitely hurdles. One of the biggest concerns, often voiced by creators themselves, is the risk of creative constraint.
How so? You mean the AI limiting creativity?
Potentially. If developers become too reliant on AI for generating assets or even gameplay ideas, there's a risk that things start to look and feel the same, homogenized, based too heavily on the data the AI was trained on rather than genuine, unexpected novelty. That creative edge we talked about with Ludo could get dulled if not managed carefully.
So the challenge is using AI as a tool, not a crutch that replaces original thought.
Exactly. Then there's the human element, developer readiness. This is a big skill shift.
You mean developers need new skills to work with AI?
Yes. Someone who spent years perfecting, say, manual 3D modeling or low-level C++ coding suddenly needs to become proficient in prompt engineering, in evaluating AI outputs critically, in integrating AI systems effectively. It requires training and a change in mindset, moving from solely making to also directing and managing the AI.
That's a significant retraining challenge for the industry. What else?
Ethics and legal issues are huge and constantly evolving. We touched on IP protection for the studio's own data when using tools like Unity AI.
Right, ensuring your game's code isn't used to train the public model.
But there's also the data AI might analyze from players for things like adaptive difficulty or personalized content. That immediately runs into data protection laws like GDPR. Studios need robust policies and transparency. And then there's the question of copyright for AI-generated assets. Who owns them? Can they be copyrighted? Are the models trained on copyrighted data? It's a legal minefield right now.
Yeah, those are thorny issues with no easy answers yet. Any technical challenges?
Integration complexity is one. While tools like Unity AI aim for seamlessness, the reality is that many game projects, especially older ones or ones with highly customized pipelines, might not just plug and play perfectly with these new AI features.
So studios might need to do significant engineering work just to get the AI tools integrated properly into their specific workflow.
Potentially, yes.
Right.
It's not always a magic button, especially for established, complex projects. Some refactoring or customization might be needed.
Okay, so definite challenges. Creative constraints, skills gaps, legal hurdles, integration complexity. But despite those, the future outlook seems incredibly ambitious, right? Where is this heading, particularly with the Unity and AI combination?
The vision is pretty wild. We're talking about next-generation worlds. AI not just generating static assets, but potentially hyper-realistic environments in real time, adapting dynamically to player actions or even simulated physics.
Beyond just static worlds moving towards simulation.
That's the idea of ecosystem generation. Imagine AI simulating not just the look of a forest, but the actual ecological dynamics. Plants growing, animals hunting and migrating, weather patterns evolving realistically over time, all influenced by player actions. Truly living, breathing worlds.
That sounds incredibly immersive and computationally intensive.
Extremely. But that's where the AI's optimization capabilities become crucial. And this push towards more complex, dynamic worlds also drives support for emerging platforms.
Like AR and VR.
Exactly. AI can help automate the complex optimization needed to run these rich experiences smoothly on devices like Apple Vision Pro or MetaQuest headsets. And Unity's cross-platform nature means AI tools can help deliver these advanced experiences everywhere, seamlessly.
So, wrapping this all up, despite the challenges, the trajectory seems clear. AI is becoming fundamental.
It really does. And the core message, reiterated in the sources, ties back to our initial question. AI isn't about replacing developers.
It's about empowering them, right?
Precisely. By taking over the repetitive, the tedious, the complex but rote tasks, the debugging, the bulk asset placement, the boilerplate code, AI frees up human creators to focus on what humans do best.
Which is?
Storytelling, innovative design, unique aesthetics, emotional resonance, the overall player experience. It elevates the developer's role, moving it away from the assembly line and more towards being the creative director, the visionary. Hashtag outro.
Okay, so if we pull all this together from our deep dive today, it feels like AI has fundamentally reshaped the entire landscape of game development, creating this spectrum of assistance.
Absolutely. At one end, you've got tools like Rosebud, making game creation genuinely accessible, turning it into a creative hobby for anyone with an idea, especially for visual novels. No code needed.
Right, pure democratization. Then in the middle, you have Ludo.ai acting as that strategic partner, helping you generate ideas, yes, but critically, validating them against market data and rapidly prototyping the core feel before you sink years into development.
Bringing data-driven confidence and smarter starting points. And then at the far end, the professional powerhouse, Unity AI, embedded right in the engine.
Yeah, the co-pilot, fixing complex bugs instantly, optimizing massive scenes, placing thousands of objects with a text prompt, generating textures, animations, audio on the fly.
Turning tasks that used to take weeks into potentially hours or minutes. It's a dramatic acceleration of the professional workflow.
The clear trend weaving through all of this is that shift we talked about, from painstakingly crafting every single element by hand
to curating, directing, and prompting AI systems to handle the heavy lifting. The tools are here, or rapidly arriving. They can generate assets, optimize code, debug errors, even build worlds at the scale of No Man's Sky.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
If AI gets truly flawless at handling optimization, debugging, asset generation, maybe even balancing gameplay loops and generating 18 quintillion planets, what does it really mean to be a game developer in the future? Is the core skill shifting away entirely from the technical execution, the building, the coding? Does it become primarily about having the vision, asking the right questions, prompting the AI effectively, and then curating the results?
So less about how to build the components and more about what to build and why.
Exactly. If the machines handle the raw complexity, what are the truly essential human skills that the next generation of game creators absolutely must master? Is it creativity, critical thinking, strategic vision, taste?
That's a deep question about the future of creative work itself. A good place to leave it.
We'll leave you to ponder that one. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See you next time.